So Paulie Malignaggi has come out and condemned Ryan Garcia. He stated his belief that Garcia knowingly took PEDs and that it wasn't any kind of accident and it wasn't a setup. Now, as soon as Garcia got popped, there were loads of people coming out to defend him, proclaiming him to be innocent before they even had the facts. I'm seeing people running around saying that Osterine only stays in your system for 24 hours or 48 hours, meaning Garcia would have had to have been taking it literally right up until the fight in order to get caught, or at least, let's say, the Thursday before the fight. And they think that that is a highly unlikely scenario. Well, I had a look online at various websites that deal with PEDs. And if you look at a few headlines, it will say Osterine is out of your system in 24 hours in most cases, or 48 hours. But if you dig a little deeper, you'll find that it actually depends on how much you've taken and how long you've been taking it for. Because I've read that Osterine can actually stay in your system for up to 3 weeks. If not the substance itself, then the metabolites of it. In layman's terms, a metabolite is basically the fingerprints of something. It shows you that a particular substance has been through an athlete's body. Their body has metabolized it, and it leaves these derivatives called metabolites. And so if Garcia did indeed deliberately take Osterine, he wouldn't have just taken it once, would he? He would have taken it over the course of several weeks as part of a regimen. And one of the things that Chris Algieri was saying is that Osterine is a substance which prevents muscle wastage during weight loss. So normally when you're cutting a lot of calories in order to get down to weight for a boxing match, you're not just going to lose fat and water, you're also going to lose some muscle. Osterine helps prevent losing the muscle. And a consequence of that may well be that you struggle to make the weight, which is of course what happened with Ryan Garcia. Also in Ryan Garcia's sample was a metabolite of nandrolone. And so look, like I said in my original video about this story, I'm well aware of the corruption in this world. It's far beyond what they show you on the television most days, which is really a vanilla version of reality, a dumbed down, simplified version of reality, right? So I'm under no illusions about how corrupt things can get in a sport like boxing where you got tens of millions of dollars flying around. And boxing has always had a shady underbelly. Professional boxing really came out of the criminal world. And in many ways, it's still attached to the criminal world. There are all kind of unsavory characters in boxing at all levels, behind the scenes and in front of the camera. And of course, it's a global sport. In some countries, it's very much like it was back in the 1920s, 30s, 40s in America, where it's mob run. And so when you've got that kind of culture in a sport, it's not beyond the realms of possibility at all that testing agencies can be gotten to and that you can have corrupt individuals within testing agencies. That's not far-fetched, folks. It doesn't mean the whole organization is corrupt necessarily, but if you've got 1 or 2 people in there in key positions, then theoretically, yeah, it would be possible to deliberately contaminate the samples of certain athletes. So I'm aware of these possibilities, folks, but I'm also aware of the fact, and it is a fact, that there are many fighters in boxing who deliberately take PEDs. And of course, when they get caught, some of them are going to try and play on the fact that boxing has this shady side to it and claim that they got set up. It's a convenient defense for them. It's my opinion that the majority of fighters who get popped are guilty. I can't tell you that's a fact. It's just my opinion. The majority of them, not all of them, the majority, more than 50%. Because I think what exists within professional boxing is also what exists in many other sports, and that is a culture of PED use. And it's a culture in which athletes, professional boxers, are used to getting away with it. Now, I can't tell you what the case is here with Ryan Garcia. It's the first time he's been popped for a fight. As ever, I want to allow due process. I don't want to jump to any conclusions. Yes, I'm aware that Ryan Garcia made some comments about some very sensitive issues, both before and after the fight. But again, if we're going to be objective about it, we have to entertain the possibility that he said those things as a cover in case he got popped. So he would have an excuse. Oh, well, you see, I spoke out about certain issues and that's why they've done this to me. Maybe he had that in the locker the whole time. Maybe he said those things to preempt a potential positive test. This clamor to defend Ryan Garcia and proclaim him innocent at all costs really speaks to the fact that a lot of people cannot stand Devin Haney and his dad Bill. For whatever reason, they can't stand them. And look, I'm not the biggest Devin Haney fan. Very rarely do I look forward to his fights. They're usually dull, and he's a pretty uninteresting character, to me anyway. Be that as it may, I have to be fair. He's not this big hype job that people are portraying him to be. He's a very good fighter. He'd never have got to where he is being a hype job. I mean, that's a load of rubbish. A lot of people are still butthurt about the Lomachenko fight. The Lomachenko fight was genuinely close. Anyone saying that was a robbery, you just don't know how to score boxing. It was a genuinely close fight. Lomachenko's a sore loser, actually. I mean, he was acting like he got robbed against Teofimo Lopez. So no, Haney Loma was not a robbery. It was a genuinely close fight. You could have had it to Lomachenko. You could have had it to Haney, whatever. And Haney, of course, has made some comments about RACE in the past, which have rubbed people up the wrong way, turned a lot of people against him. And I get that. But when I'm assessing a fighter's career, when I'm assessing their performances, I'm putting all the extra stuff to the side and just looking at everything objectively as far as the scoring of their fights and the way they've maneuvered in their career in terms of who they've fought and what they've achieved. And Devin Haney has done very, very well. He is a very good fighter. I don't think it's unfair to refer to him as a bootleg Mayweather. Stylistically and ability-wise, I think he probably is. There's a lot of similarity in technique there, but he doesn't have the athleticism. He doesn't have the sharpness. Doesn't have the power. You know, Mayweather at 140 was a decent puncher. So yeah, bootleg Mayweather, but bootleg Mayweather doesn't mean a bad fighter. And he's just been beat by a guy who has tested positive for some pretty serious PEDs. And he came in overweight by 3 pounds. I mean, normally when a fighter comes in 3 pounds overweight, he gets vilified by everybody. But with Ryan Garcia, because people dislike Devin Haney and his dad so much, they were actually on Ryan Garcia's side. I mean, it's an extraordinary thing. I don't care how much I dislike a fighter in terms of their personality or things they've said. If their opponent comes in 3 pounds over, I'm not going to be on the opponent's side. I mean, don't get it twisted. Devin Haney went ahead with the fight. So ultimately, he's only got himself to blame for that. But it shows on Garcia's part a lack of professionalism for one, and potentially evidence that he did knowingly take Osterine, or maybe somebody in his team was giving him the stuff. Who knows? And again, the metabolite of nandrolone was also found in his sample. When you got a guy like Ryan Garcia who's acting so erratic, that's another symptom of PED use, especially steroids. Steroids can, in some instances, lead to very unusual behavior. I know a lot of these bodybuilding types will say, oh, it's not true, blah, blah, blah. No, it is true. In fact, I was watching an interview the other day with Mickey Theo, a very, very interesting interview, by the way, where he talks about his life, his career as a bouncer, working with Lenny McLean, and he was on roids for many years. And he spoke about how he got tremendous roid rage when he was on them. And it was absolutely night and day, Jekyll and Hyde, when he was on them compared to when he was off them. And many other people he worked with would get the roid rage. I've worked with people when I was a bouncer who were very wired and they were on the roids. I mean, there were certain guys I worked with who would shoot up the roids at work before a shift. So let's see what Ryan Garcia and his team can come up with by way of an explanation. I'm open to the possibility that he's innocent and that he's been set up, but I'm also very much open to the possibility that he's guilty. But I seem to be very much in a minority in that regard. People don't want Ryan Garcia to be guilty. They want him to be innocent primarily because they hate Devin Haney and his dad. They hate them. Anyway, I'll leave it there.